Dun, 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 dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to. I'm going to get that out. And welcome to our continuing coverage of Ahsoka, dealing with part 3 today, Time to Fly. And of course, joining me as always, the man, the myth, the legend from Smirking Reviews, Rob Stone.
Yes. Yeah, it's good to be back talking more Star Wars, talking more Ahsoka, talking more Rebels, and let's just get this conversation started because there's not that much to talk about, supposedly, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, actually, I was going to kind of ask that out just from the top. What did you think about this week's episode? Kind of a brief overall snippet.
I literally only watched it one time, and it was right before I went on. I sat on it.
Fresh.
I sat on it. Want to know why I sat on it? Probably for what you're about to rant about.
Very good.
I took one look at it and said, it's my day off. It's early and I've got other things to do, and I'll just wait until right before the show. That's what I felt like. Now, after saying that and watching it, I think that it had a bit for me it had a bit of a rocky beginning, but it ended fantastically. And again, it just needed to keep going.
Yeah.
That's all I asked, is that it kept on going, because where it was going was good.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, overall, I thought this was a good episode. It checked off all of the Star Wars boxes. You had your Jedi training, you had your little dash of politics, you had your space dogfights, you had fancy flying, you had a giant enemy thing. It's all good, all standard fun Star Wars stuff. But if it felt like half an episode, and at 20 minutes shorter than the opening episode this season, it almost literally is, which isn't surprising, really. Marvel and Star Wars shows have tracked towards shorter episode 3 or 4 lengths with an average season episode of about 44 to 45 minutes. Now, this is actually about standard for your old hour TV length. You have an hour of commercials, 60 or an hour show, 60 minutes commercials, about 44 minutes of general show. Except this 44 minutes also includes about 5 minutes of credits, plus about a minute and a half of previously on to open things up, and your little intro credits where they've got all the different droid helmets and things like that. So you're really looking at an average of more of like 38 minutes of actual show on average. This episode in particular really had only about 29 minutes of actual footage. Just like I say, 36 minutes listed, 5 minutes for end credits, 2 minutes for opening bits. There you go. Now, back in the day, pre-streaming wars, as we might say, your premium HBO show was nearly an hour in length, about 55 minutes or so on average. Now, that's only about 10 to 11 minutes more, but a lot of story can be told in that time frame. I mean, remember Game of Thrones. I was thinking about the opening episodes, but really through the whole season, just how meaty those stories were, how much happened. I mean, you felt kind of satiated after the hour. I mean, more so at least. I'm willing to wait for the next episode. And with 10 episodes a season, it kind of made it easier to wait until the next season come out. You felt like a story had been told with the time that you had spent. But now it seems that all the major streaming services want to charge those old HBO prices without providing the HBO quality. Even Max now is leaning in that direction. So, admittedly, while these shows are pricey, I mean, we're getting charged the same or more for HBO with shorter episodes and shorter seasons. And since these are actually designed more as like long movies and not really episodes, they don't arc right. They make every adventure feel kind of disjointed and uneven. As you were mentioning, you get through to the end of this episode, you're like, all right, stuff's about to go down. You're getting into the third act, and then it ends. And I think now that we've kind of moved past the consolidation stage of everyone trying to get everything and throw something out and just, hey, we're going to put out something expensive and interesting for you. I think that these shows would really benefit from a return to a more of your regularly structured episodic style, where you get that kind of length of story and you have the little arcs. Paramount Plus, we'll say the Star Wars Strange New Worlds, because they have kind of commercial options. Those shows are kind of set up in the old style, even though you get the longer episodes upwards of an hour in length. How those are structured out gives you that feel of what you used to have in old episodic TV when you had the little mini arcs in between commercial breaks and the kind of good overall arc. And I think that both Marvel and Star Wars have really suffered with their shows by going, hey, it's streaming, we can make it any length and want. But like Rob, you've mentioned several times before, if this is just a giant movie that they've cut up into little parts, none of those pieces feel right kind of by themselves. So I was kind of curious what your thoughts on all of this was, because I think we've hit on this. I mean, what is it? I think Secret Invasion, the last like 4 episodes were all like 34, 38 minutes each. Again, minus 5, 7 for credits back end. You're kind of looking at like half-hour shows.
Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for other people to finally start talking about this. Like I mentioned last week, I got finally excited when I heard somebody bigger start to actually mention this in a more like problematic way of like why it's hurting the storytelling. Is this is already feeling now too like a movie that is stretched too thin, even in as episode 3 is coming, is coming through. Is like they're ending it on a moment in a movie. And if this was a movie, it'd probably be about 2.5 hours long. We're getting 8 episodes because they want to justify it being a series. And then I think they add in all these things that like maybe make us scratch our heads, like about characters who were never force sensitive and now we're just suddenly are gonna be forced to be force sensitive, and so we can have that plot. We need something to fill the time. And so not only are they making these episodes too short to fit, like, okay, big moment, big moment, big moment cut, and instead of like, and they can't hard cut on the big moment because they always want it to end on what is like the cliffhanger moment. And so the cliffhanger moment this episode was a guy standing still looking serious for a minute. We need these things to be about something if you want to call them series. Strange New Worlds. I don't watch Star Trek, but I bet you that for the most part, the Star Trek content, whether you like it or not, that's coming out of Paramount Plus, still feels episodic for the most part. I could say that maybe a show like Picard or something might feel more cinematic and like one long movie, but even those things, I feel like they've always known, like it's always been the structure of Star Trek anyway.
Right.
They've been making shows more than they've been making movies, so they've got that on lock. And you'd think that Disney's been making plenty of shows too over the years, and it just doesn't make sense other than we're just trying to make it look like we're giving you something. And don't you ever go to a place like Disney World, right?
Yeah.
Don't you ever sometimes, like when you got on one of those rides, you felt like, why did I wait in line for this?
Oh, for sure.
Like it's all the build up to it. It's the excitement and the idea of what you're going to go into. And then once you get into there, you might go, okay. But pretty quickly, you're going to realize, uh-oh, this was dumb. I don't mean scary or thrilling or like those kind of things that can freak you out, but like just really disappointing. And I feel like Disney as a corporation is just really always going to try to make you like pull the wool over your eyes and make you think you're getting something. When you are in some ways, but like they I think they put enough nostalgia and things that you do want so that it tricks you into not noticing maybe the things that you didn't, except since film criticism and show criticism is like so overswollen with people talking about it that
Right.
nothing gets past anyone. Like any kind of east, and so it's not getting past them. So all I can think is they don't care. And with what's going on right now outside of these shows that are already made, you can see that they don't care. And where they could just screw over the audience too. Like you know what I mean? Like the actors go in there to and the crew and the writers and everybody goes in there to do a job, and because the rest of them don't give a shit about anything but the bottom line, then this is what happens. Like it's all connected. I know that almost we probably sound a little conspiracy theory right now, but like it is. All of this is connected to the fact that they just don't give a shit about really the quality of what they're putting out. It's just they throw enough stuff and they hope it sticks, and but I don't see it getting any better either. Like I think our the darkest before the dawn time to say that is hasn't even come yet.
Well, and I mean, look, I know that especially with Disney Plus came off, and there's the announcement of all these Marvel shows, and we've got big expectations on that, and with Star Wars. Look, I understand they're trying to put a fair amount of content out there, and that these shows are pricey. They are very effects driven. I mean, I understand that. But I think as an audience, we would be much more satisfied with less stuff, better done, longer seasons than trying to get all of these, 6 episode, 8 episode, quick little arc seasons linked throughout the year. I mean, again, just from the feedback of, I know a lot of people have really enjoyed these, but a lot of the consistent feedback is that yeah, we're just not getting enough. It's not enough there. The stories that are being told are not deep enough. And it's not that there isn't the talent out there that can craft an incredible 10 episode, 55-minute long each episode of Star Wars or any of the Marvel stuff given the budget and time. Um, and I think that urge to fill content into these streaming services is going to have to be pulled back with saying, look, we want stuff that people are going to enjoy, that are going to be talked about, that's going to last, and not just show once, get a bit of an audience, and then sit in the back catalog, uh, you know, for years and years and years until they sell it off there, and then you can't even find it anymore because they never released physical copies of that. By the way, am appreciative that they're doing WandaVision and Loki, and I think there's one other one that are actually getting physical Blu-ray 4K releases. Buy all that stuff because when the internet goes down, folks, it's the only way you're going to be able to watch these shows. And with a lot of these shows, they're starting to shelve them for tax purposes. What Warner Brothers did with Batgirl, Disney has now done with Spiderwick Chronicles and one other series that they have made. They have shot. It's all done, but they're going to shelve this, and they can take tax write-offs off of that, which kind of sucks if you are a fan and you've been waiting for the show, and more so for writers, because oftentimes, and this is the thing that I have discovered, when they shelve those, they also shelve the rights that they have purchased, and the writers can't get those rights back to try and get the show sold to somebody else. So not only are they just trimming money into themselves, they're screwing over cast, crew, actors that have all been involved, and writers that now, novel writers that sell their rights to the show for Disney to produce it, which shelves it, and you can never get the rights back now. Again, more things to switch into contracts with all the things that are happening. There are writers that can do this. You just need to staff the place and write them and design your shows. Look at the shows as episodic. I think as I started mentioning before, Marvel had this idea. Let's do long movies and cut them into parts and see if that sells it out. And you've tried that. We've had multiple series, and for the most part, that approach doesn't work because your episodes don't have the proper fill satiation. It doesn't have the proper internal arc to make that episode feel fine. You get something like what we have today, where it feels like setup. You get for the first act, the setup, then you get the battle, and then you're ready for the next one and the third, and now you got to wait a week. And how long is next week's episode going to be? Is it going to be the same thing? Maybe we'll get a couple minutes more, but I'm guessing it's going to be less than 44 minutes. 42 minutes. That's going to be my guess for next week's episode.
And the only thing that's going to stop it is for like anything, mass unsubs, just massive unsubscriptions. Because it almost feels like they're just kind of like, there's no motivation to give us more, even with the money that they're throwing at us, because they just want the money. And they know that people are just slaves in some ways to I'm trying to be nice about this. We're just absolute slaves to entertainment.
Sure.
I'm in my own way. I think we all are a little bit in our own ways, just different degrees, and it's like, well, if we just give it to them like this, like as easing them into it, we'll give them every once in a while something a little longer. Well, like, what do we care? What do we care? We got you for you subbed. But I mean, I always felt like that if you, like you're saying, less shows, higher quality, and also word of mouth and stuff. Like you'll get the numbers whenever you hear about certain shows getting more money or more episodes or more seasons, when they're successful and they're actually put together right, and they keep putting in numbers, and even the channel, like say like show like we brought up Game of Thrones again, like those HBO would have kept that show going forever.
Oh yeah,
because it was obviously still bringing in people, not just old subscribers. So if that model worked, I just don't understand, like, other than it's this desperate scramble that started when I said years ago that as soon as it became like after Netflix and then Hulu, and then once they started really branching out to like every little thing, I said, you're going to see everybody have a channel, and then you're going to see it all implode.
Right.
Because it's just everybody, it's like the gold rush. Everybody's just trying to just siphon it up as fast as they can. And then at the end of it, there's just kind of like a metaphorical devastation of like this landscape of just when you look back and you go, look at all the garbage that came out. We used to think that, we used to just complain that reality shows and stuff were just everywhere and just stinking up the entertainment world. And now it's just everything that they've done to like cheapen the thrill of the streaming services and the idea of, you get all of this here and you get all of this there. And after all the different times you binge watch The Office or Friends, do we really feel any better? And we're just sitting here talking about 29-minute episodes of an event series that everybody's supposed to be so stoked about, and we're not even talking about the show anymore. We're talking about how they make them, because there's honestly more to say about how they make the show than what's in the show.
Well, and one of the realities that the streaming services have all talked about is that the concept of churn, of you watch a show, then you cancel it, and then you cancel that service until the next time a big show comes up. I think that is countered with that spaced out, consistent quality. I didn't have HBO for years until finally, I think it was by season 3 of Game of Thrones, I was like, I can't wait another year to not talk to anybody until this comes out on DVD for me to watch this. We're just going to subscribe to it. And maybe we'll was just going to do it for that 2.5 months, nice chunk of time that season is running. But then, oh, well, John Oliver's on Sundays or so on. And in a couple of months, Westworld's going to come out or whatever this next big series is going to be. I might as well just pay those 2-3 extra months in between of stuff. I could still watch my John Oliver and get my little humor and stuff. It's not that there was a lot on HBO that I watched, but they did just enough where I wanted to keep that subscription going. And for right now, look, I will say it. If you don't have a Disney Plus subscription, I'm surprised you're watching this, but if you don't get one. Wait until this show is over, and then once you get a couple of them behind, do the churn, man. Subscribe to a month, go through it, and then dump it again. Because, like you said, Rob, it's the only way they're going to listen. If you just keep giving them money, they won't care what your opinion is. Because that's all that they care about.
Yeah, we're still talking about it. It's still attention. It's what a lot of people don't understand, and it's like we're critiquing. We're all en masse. It would take a lot of people to suddenly stop talking. It would take a lot of people to suddenly stop watching and subbing. So it's not like, some simple thing, and it's like, hypocritical maybe of us to be talking about it, but it's not. But they just they don't understand anything else, and it makes me. It goes to lots of things here on the internet, like everybody complaining about everything, and it's like everybody's just throwing fuel on the fire, and that's why these things get dragged out. And yeah, don't subscribe, because you could watch Ahsoka in a day. In fact, you could watch Ahsoka and Moon Knight probably in one day. You know what I mean? Like it's like watching a season of Rick and Morty. You start it 2 seconds later, it's over, and you're like, well, I still got 6 more hours, or even more than that, probably. So, I mean, it's like building up on Netflix or something, just if there's something, don't just get Netflix if you want to watch, the last season of Stranger Things that you didn't catch. Wait until a bunch of shows are piled up on there.
Yeah.
Stay away from it all, as much as you can. I was keeping Prime because I was so stupid to realize that I can just get Critical Role through Twitch. I don't have to spend the $15 from a Prime subscription to watch Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So bye-bye, Prime. I don't need you. Last time I got something from Amazon was that D&D Monsters Manual I got for like 67% off. I don't know why I'm giving them an ad right now. But that was it. I was like, you know what? Boop, that was done. That was a nice deal. Thank you very much. Same thing's going to happen here with Disney when this is over. But here's another, I wanted to talk about this. Did we already talk about this in another episode about how desperate they've gotten to keep you at these places yet? No? Because I tried canceling. I got Paramount for free. They give everybody a trial.
Sure.
So I got it because I wanted to watch Dungeons and Dragons. And at the end of the month, I went to cancel it. And they're like, oh, wait. We'll give you 3 months, 3 more months for free. And I'm like, okay. So then 3 more months go by, and I go to cancel, and they go, wait. How about we give it to you for another 3 months for $7.99? And I'm like, oh, it's that kind of like half price for like 3 months. Oh, so I did. Like I said, we're all slaves a little bit.
Sure.
So then I went to cancel again. And they go, wait. And they tried to offer it to me again. But this time they actually went, oh, okay. You had like all these different things. But the fact was, it was there. They didn't even check to see. They just sent me the thing again to keep me around. and they were going to offer it at the same like $7.99 price.
So
And
you
the
get
same thing happened on Max. They were going to charge a bunch of money, and then when they shot it over to Max, they gave me the legacy price for like, I don't know, a month or two for like $7.49 or $7.99. Again, it's that certain number there that I think they're all playing with, right?
Sure, it seems nice, and then you
Yeah.
forget to cancel it later on,
Yeah.
and then they get you. Yeah.
But I'm on top of this stuff. So right before I was gonna cancel Max again, I'm like, I don't need it. I'm done. I got my, little deal out of it. And they too. We're like, wait. You can have it till November or something for $7.49 a month. So if these people didn't catch, Max didn't call me on nothing. They gave me another 3 months for even slightly less than half price to keep me around. Now Netflix, they're the ones who just try to they don't even try to hide their squeezing you now. They'll send me an email telling me to come back and go, you can watch it with ads for $6.99. Like,
That's not
who
why I
out
got
there is that?
Netflix.
No, that's not why you get streaming services, is to watch ads. No thanks. And so it's just like, but they're like, we're either gonna get them or we won't. We don't care. We're Netflix. And it's just this kind of like desperation, and it's still just nothing ever gets through. Nothing ever sinks in. This is all going to end terribly, but I think that should be everybody's biography title, really.
Sure.
This is all going to end badly.
It's all gonna end badly.
This is all going to end badly is the title of everyone's
21st
biography.
century.
Every single thing that goes on eventually ends and goes away, and it usually ends badly. So I don't know. Like every once in a while, we get a good show to talk about in the midst of, despite themselves, I would say. And so far, maybe segueing in, this show isn't bad. It's just short. And yeah, there are little problems that we can nitpick and stuff. But again, it's like we've already talked almost the entire length of the show itself by almost like a minute or two, and then we'll have caught up. And you could have watched. Listening to us is right about now is the length of this episode of Ahsoka.
Yeah,
and there's probably only about 10 minutes of that to talk about.
By the way, your reference to Moon Knight, one of the actual longer of the Disney Plus series, averaged at about 49 minutes per episode. The longest one of the first, Falcon and Winter Soldier, 54 minutes per episode on average.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it has over time. Things have started to definitely drop down. But yeah, we've had enough rants. Eric Scott joining us in the chat. How you doing, Eric? Have you missed anything? No, we've just been ranting about length of shows. So you've actually come in as
right as we're about to start
at kind of the perfect time. So yeah, let's get into some more of the specifics on this episode. We get our opening off with the first checkbox, Star Wars checkbox done. Jedi training. Can't be Star Wars without some form of Jedi training. And like I say, through most of the parts, I actually really enjoyed this. First off, Sabine looks awesome. She got some cut muscles, man, looking really good there, moving very nicely, which I really appreciate. They're definitely using a lot of Japanese influence in the Jedi styles that we have. Specifically, one of the styles that they mentioned before, they had the other standard blast shields down so you can't see lightsaber training. She mentions Zatoichi as a style, which is most likely referencing Zatoichi, who is a famous Japanese character, blind swordsman. She's got the mask on. Also a massage therapist, as Zatoichi's kind of a big bit. So those are excellent movies. If you ever feel like going back, watching some great old Japanese cinema, the Zatoichi series is freaking awesome. But like I said, I actually really enjoyed this opening bit. I like the fact that when she's being messed with, her first moves are parries to kind of push it away. I even liked Hu Yang's little lightsaber practice things that shows where her little slices and stuff are in order to determine where her targeting and such is. So I think they did a really good job of setting this up. And again, it's Star Wars. We want Jedi training. It seems to be one of those necessary bits. And I think they did this one really well. But what do you think about our opening bit there, Rob?
I mean, I like that you call it a bit because that's what it is. It's a bit. We're doing the training bit. And so it's like, well, as far as training bits go, it succeeds in being a decent one, I think. I mean, again, it's all like I said, this is the part of the show that just feels like it really doesn't need to be here, or like I see these two characters just feeling less energetic, feeling less alive and than they have on the normal any other, the times that we've seen these characters. And so it's the the Padawan master relationship that they've tacked on here just kind of, I don't know, is keeping the characters from being themselves to me. And also, like, it's almost like the show, and I've said this before about other shows that seem to, like, the characters almost seem to be trying to talk the show out of them being in an arc. Where she just keeps saying, I don't really think I'm supposed to be a Jedi. Kind of like, I don't really feel Force like you do. And it's like, yeah, because you never did, honey. You didn't. And I don't mean honey in some disparaging way, just in case anybody gets mad that I said
Well,
that.
and they do repeatedly hit the point is she's like the worst trainee ever.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the intimation, doesn't have the style. Well, we're gonna fucking train her anyway.
Did you really say that? Yeah, because it's true. Even they say it like the show tells us straight to our face that this isn't really what should be happening. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like it's almost like it's almost like a SOS sent from a writer. It's like, let's see if we can slip this past everybody so that they know, wink, this isn't really what we wanted to do, folks. So we're trying to like tell you straight to your face, this isn't our fault. This is somebody sitting in a room saying we gotta have more girl Jedis. Okay, who do we got? Well, we got a Mandalorian. Cool. We've never seen a Mandalorian Jedi, I don't think. And if we have, I don't remember. So to me, that means we haven't had one. So,
Yeah.
like, sure, it's unique. But again, I said this last week. She's already a really unique character.
Right.
And I almost feel like that this could easily be a story where it goes nowhere but back to her putting on the helmet and just being herself. So, like, if this is an identity crisis, like, if this is a big part of the episode or the series or event, we're going a long way to get to somewhere that's pretty obvious. Now, yeah, I also could definitely see her flying around spinning two lightsabers with a rocket pack.
Well, yeah,
because,
that's it. Mandalorian with lightsaber. That's what we want.
That's what gets everybody going, "Whoa!" Like the kid sitting 2 feet from the 70-inch, screen is going to be all like like the guy in the Dolby surround sound commercial, like they're getting their minds blown by this kind of thing. If we saw this when we were their age, I mean, first time I saw Boba Fett, I was like, what the hell is that guy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it from that perspective of the kid's perspective that this is all amazing.
Well, and like I
Us
said,
grizzled old farts who've been living in a galaxy far, far away for a little too long. Just
I will admit that I will be excited to see this, and even adding this kind of idea onto Sabine isn't too bad. I mean, but they are. I mean, they're definitely leaning into. I mean, how much talk it is she's a horrible trainee. The Jedi would never have accepted such a candidate. There were such few Mandalorian Jedi, but you're part of a non-traditional Jedi bit. I mean, they're really kind of hammering that point down. Now, on the other hand, I do have to say I do kind of like Ahsoka's approach that she's what does she say? I don't want her to be a Jedi. I want her to
Yeah,
be herself.
yeah,
You know, that this could be a way to magnify things. And even from a philosophical standpoint, she has those couple of great lines later on when it's like, the force resides in all living things, even you, which is kind of encouraging in that sense.
yeah.
But yeah.
But did she have an identity crisis before? I feel like she pretty well knew herself before this story decided that she didn't.
Oh, for sure. But I think they wanted an evolution. And since we did have the kind of dark saber bit, I am sure Filoni was kind of like, well, what if she was able to use a lightsaber for real? What if she did have a force? I mean, you do have to kind of evolve characters,
Yeah,
uh, kind of in that sense. Um, and as I said, I like the fact that they're kind of dealing in with the fact that Sabine is dedicated. Would you say talent is good, but it's dedication and perseverance that are going to push you through, or something like that. It's about you have the discipline to master the Force is very rare. We're all dealing in some ways with part of Sabine's character that she kind of latches on and digs into things.
sure.
And if we're going to look at Chekhov's cup, she's moving that cup by the end of this season. May not be a lot. It may be the only thing, but that cup will move by the end of this season.
I want to see her think she's moved the cup, and it's like Chopper underneath the table using a magnet or something to move the thing, and he's all bah, 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 you
Oh,
know.
I would be with that as well, because that would be such in character for Chopper. That would work out perfect, I think. So yeah, we've get Jedi training, Force training. That's checked off on our Star Wars box. What else do we have to have? Politics. Always got to have a little bit of politics thrown in, and that, of course, is care of Hera, dealing with Senator Mothma and the rest of the council. I think that it is that they have on here. Um, we'll start off with you. What did you think of our little council? No, we don't believe in Thrawn. Sorry, I got mosquitoes in here. Are coming after you. What did you think of that little bit?
I thought that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, like this is where the episode, like as soon as, look, I said, like, there's just a vibe. So as soon as they got away from Ahsoka and Sabine, it just like I'm in Rebels now. Now we're in Rebels. Now and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera in this is really good. She's the closest, she's really in character. Mon Mothma, it's nice to see her again. Um, but this scene just kind of again is like setting up this problem with the New Republic, like this this way that they're headed, where we know it's this bridge between the First Order and now and then, and them just being so dismissive of what she's telling them about is just
Sure.
there's a little bit of writing mistakes I think they made in how she kind of worded her argument maybe, but it's because they didn't want the right argument fully. They wanted to have
Right.
a better chance of being able to dismiss her argument and be able to say, well, she did, they did say this, but everything felt really weak. And I still feel like there's a way for them to say yes and still have a problem.
Sure.
Go look. Yes, it would be nice to see them taking threats seriously instead of just they. I feel like the story thinks that this creates more drama. It's like, no, what it would be nice for people to see is them doing something because they beat the Empire. And I know that they probably want to say that everything has its problems, but we've not really seen any successes either, or at least talk about successes in the Republic. And so
Mhm.
just to see somebody just agree with one of their generals so that they can go out there and investigate, and then at least they seem competent, and you can still have your fight scenes and stuff like. And so,
Yeah.
as much as like I loved her in this scene, it's just a bummer to just continue to see people who just like no, no, no. I either don't care or my head's in the sand and I never fought in the rebellion, or I'm on the take or something, and it's like, again,
Yeah.
I think the real world, just the stress of our own real world just bleeds through, where you just go, can there just somebody in this universe write a competent politician
Well,
in a galaxy far, far away, please, somewhere?
well, it's interesting because there are a couple of things that are actually happening in this scene. One, I have to agree, as part of me is just like, well, just send out a small group, a couple of things like what we have with Ahsoka and Sabine, and check it out. Give us feedback. We can't commit. It's a new republic. We got a lot of things going on. We can't commit a whole bunch of forces to this one flying goose chase. But if you think it's important, go check it out and get back to us. A little bit of backup for Ahsoka and crew would be nice. And that is kind of, to me, the more logical bit. But we actually have some heir to the empire action happening right here. I think we've got some character switches happening within this scene. Ziono, if I'm hoping pronouncing that right, the senator that's kind of giving Hera grief, actually apparently has appeared in Star Wars Resistance, one of the other animation shows that take place just before around the time of the sequel trilogy. And he is a character that's involved in that. So we're kind of seeing an earlier version of a character some people are already familiar with. But from watching it, what this actually reminded me of is, gotta see if I can get his name right, Freza, as I think he's a Bothan senator and heir to the Empire in a lot of the other books. And he's basically filling the same role. He's kind of a foil. I mean, he's not an antagonist or enemy. He's not working for the Imperials or anything like this, but is very much not supportive of the chase after Thrawn. He is kind of like this character, wasn't really involved in the war, but because he's Bothan, he used the many Bothans died to give us these plans from Return of the Jedi. And because of that sacrifice, he used that politically to gain a seat on the council. And he's very much the character that thinks that people are using excuses in order to gain resources and stuff from the Republic. So he's very much political in that sense. In fact, if you replaced Hera and Ziono with Admiral Akbar and Freza, this is kind of the relationship they had beginning of heir to the Empire, where you've got the resistance for the Republic to spend resources and go after, which of course allows Thrawn to come up and bite them in the ass, as he is so well at doing. So they're kind of repackaging this idea, and I don't know if it's to kind of give a little nod to people that read the books and are like, oh, this is a reminder of that, or just treading that same ground with new characters so we can show how the Republic, again, kind of deserves to get bit in the back. They're not taking the threat seriously. They're all too much caught up in their own, political maneuverings, which ultimately was the fail of the old Senate and which would allow the Empire to rise up. We're starting to see, I think, a lot of those repeated mistakes happening. Seems to be what they're coloring this with. So I think we've got kind of that going on where they still want to keep that political, everything is very unsure, we don't know where loyalties lie type kind of thing happening. But I agree. To me, as I was watching this, I was like, why do you need approval? Okay, so not the whole fleet, just send some people down to make sure that this isn't happening. That should be an easy thing to do. But it's what gives us the conflict, so that what we have very shortly, as we will talk about, Ahsoka and company kind of stuck on their own out in the Denab system.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care about that damn logic. It just didn't work.
No. Like I agree. It's
All right.
just
Well,
like I didn't remember my my heir to the Empire knowledge. It's is like my high school Spanish. Pretty much, pretty much useless. I learned more just on the streets. You know what I'm
sure.
saying? So
Well, I watched this first off on Tuesday, and I had a bunch of time yesterday to flew around with some stuff. Come on, I was doing episode length counts and averages and such for all the Disney Plus shows. So, I got into a research mode. And this is what happens when I do that. Speaking of Denab, I had a mistake last week. I was remembering Lando mentioning the Battle of Tanab in Return of the Jedi. I guess somebody remembered my maneuver in the Battle of Tanab. I thought he said Denab. They all sound the same. But this apparently does have a little bit of history. There was the Battle of Denab, which was part of General Jan Dodonna's campaign to prove that starfighters were the most versatile military asset provided by the Alliance, and their tactical use would bring victories and undermine Imperial control of space. So that happened, but just before the Battle of Yavin. So there is some, canon activity that's happened in the areas. There was no mention of Purgles at that time, so I don't know if this is just the occasional thing. But what do we get out of Denab? We get our starfighter battle. Check that off the box. Which again, I liked. Now I'll bring it up. In the X-Wing series, which I just happen to have here, they talk about uglies, which are stitched together starfighters, kind of like Frankenstein monsters of starfighters that have all little bits. And that's honestly what these reminded me of, almost like old P-40s stitched together from World War II, which is where we get a lot of influence from one of the fighting sequences that appear in Star Wars. So yeah, we get our requisite star battle. We of course have the classic escape from Death Star gunner section in the fight. We even get a yell out of "I got one!" So yay, Luke Sabine. Though I think what we have here, kind of outside of the action, is the idea that Sabine and Ahsoka need to be able to work together if they're going to succeed. I think Hu Yang mentioned something like, we're going to die if things keep going this way. And we end up having to go that one has to signal the other of what they're going to do. And that's the way they're going to work. So, I mean, I think that was the kind of, character effectiveness of this battle. But for the most part, I thought it was fun. I enjoyed a lot of these bits. What do you think, Rob, of our little space battle?
yeah, I mean, you have to have some Star Wars in Star Wars. Every once in a while, you got to check that box off at least. And so, making him interesting has always been a little, challenging. I think for these guys, any Star Wars movie has to have some kind of hook in the space battle.
Yeah, of
I
course.
can't.
Yeah.
And I mean, like a good every single one of them had or Jedi or sorry, New Hope had the Death Star run.
Right.
Empire had the asteroid field.
Right.
Jedi had the end.
Right.
The whole last act of that. The even like Rogue One had the cool little Corvette slam into the other one that caused all the havoc around the dome and the shield, all that stuff. And that's all big
cool.
epic. And it's
Yeah.
harder to do on like a TV show and even with like whatever kind of budget they had. So what do? Well, you have one of your characters go outside, and that's a pretty cool thing.
That
I
was
mean,
pretty cool.
I was thinking to myself, do they have to shoot at her just because she's out there? They could shoot any part of that ship if they wanted to, but that's not the point of the scene. The point of this scene is to see like a Ralph McQuarrie painting of a Jedi on a spaceship, deflecting blasts from incoming fighters. That's why we're watching it, and that's very effective and really cool. And the whole way it all went down, and the guy getting the scan, David Tennant's
Mhm.
Wang, uh, it was all pretty tense. And yeah, we all know how things are going to play out, but it's how do they get to that point? And I thought it was pretty fun and effective. And yeah, I cringed with the whole woohoo, I did it. But it's in every single thing. So
It is, yeah.
it's like Stan Lee showing up. Everybody gets if you get to blast a TIE fighter or something, you everybody gets a woohoo. And it's a I you know, it's gotta be great for the actress to be able to say, I did it, I did what Luke
Oh, totally.
did. And you know,
Yeah.
I think really one of the reasons we have problems with that kind of thing, like where I'm going, like, yeah, is because it's not me. All right, I didn't get to do it, so I don't care that much. After this many woohoos, it's like a bunch of people got to ride that ride, and I didn't.
Yeah.
We're
And
so you know, I think that's what really boils down to is that when I'm playing a Star Wars game and you're blasting ships and stuff, I guess I that's when I should do my woohooing.
that's where we get
And
our
just
woohoos.
I'll have to do it on a Twitch stream one
I
of
was
these
about to
days.
say
And
Twitch smirking gunplay or
Smirking Rob plays.
smirking Rob plays. Thank you. God.
Yeah. I'll have to play like Lego Star Wars and get into some space battles or something and blast some ships and go woohoo.
Well,
So
of course, we also got our giant enemy thing in our hyperspace ring, which is very cool looking. I kind of like what they go on with the lore on that. I did have to kind of laugh because again, this is when you start getting really nerdy, folks. When they're like ready turbo lasers, I'm like, turbo lasers are ineffective against fighters. Those are designed for ship to ship combat or for laying down fire onto planets and things like that, and bombarding planets.
yeah,
Um,
it's like the what the helicarriers had in Winter Soldier.
yeah, exactly. They're too big to go after fighters. But again, that's just the nerd in me. And they are doing the classic anti-aircraft explosions, even though these are like energy beams. We don't know why they're exploding. Again, these are all minor criticisms. I enjoyed the heck out of this whole sequence.
Yeah.
Even watching Ahsoka bounce around from part of the ship to the ship, and okay, it's 0G, but she is doing kind of an actual arc, which would imply a gravity thing. Didn't really care about that because it was fun. I did like
Yeah.
her kind of floating across the screen and then getting hit with the spinning wing that her grav boots could grab on and then run down towards the entrance. You know, they had fun with this. And I can't really fault any of it. And it led us to our secondary big chase scene where we get to see the Purgles and we realize the enemies are like stormtroopers. They can't shoot worth a damn. They're just laying blaster fire at those ship at Ahsoka and Sabine and not hitting anything at that point. So, um,
But it
but
was
it was
worth it to see the Purgles. I mean,
oh
that
yeah,
was we don't get enough. That's another thing we just don't get enough of in Star Wars is these big kind of like this is the scene I would have wanted to be in a theater for. You
yes,
know?
with the big swooping stuff. It's like the asteroids, but if the asteroids were swimming through space as opposed to just sitting there. Yeah, it was beautiful. And again, check mark with giant alien new thing to see. First time that we've seen live action Purgles floating through the atmosphere and such. It was
And it gave me energy because I was like, "Oh, we're close, we're close."
yeah, it's exactly it. Oh, sorry. Eric Scott here in the chat was not sure if you guys would like the Ahsoka going on her spacewalk. He thought it was cool. Star Wars has never been about realism. Lucas said things like Robin Hood, and inspired him. That's true. And again, even the way the ship moves is this all looks like they're flying in atmosphere, even though that we're in space, because those kind of dogfights and such were the influence for Star Wars, and that still has some of the best space combat that we see in any sci-fi medium, even if it's not realistic, but it invokes the feeling that we want to feel. So yes, Eric, I completely agree. That's why I say I can nitpick on certain things, but I also have to throw out that I don't care because it gave the effect that they wanted to. And I think even when we get down to the planet, really, we got to go and hide and turn off all of the power so they can't detect anything as they fly by, and then we got our little info is what we expected. Oh, this is giant hyperspace ring. It can go very fast and very far, and we get our hint that the Jedi talked about traveling between galaxies on routes based off of the migrating Purgles, which kind of ties in a lot of these ideas together. So it's a nice way of kind of linking all of that. And then, like you said, we got our final scene of Ray Stevenson going, they're hiding in the forest. Find them. Though it looks like a giant forest and they're on foot, so I'm hoping they're going to get on some ships. Otherwise, it's going to take a really long time for them to look around anywhere. But I'm sure with all the Star Wars things and speeder bikes and stuff like that they will use, that will all make sense. But this was the frustrating part, because it was like, yes, we're landed. They're hunting down. What's going to happen? Credits? No.
And also, if you think about how they do this, how they've been cutting this up, and how they've been divvying it out, where we are in the story now is we're going to have like a forest stealthy fight thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to, it's not going to probably go any longer than this episode.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Give or take a minute or two, positive or negative, I'm predicting we're going to see no longer than like 35 minutes after everything else. And that's being generous.
Yeah.
Because if you feel out where the story's going and what we're about to see, the only other things they could do to lengthen the episode would be to cut away to Hera dealing with political stuff, which is probably what they'll do to add more time.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get probably some Balon Shin scenes.
Yes, they're going to be in it. They're going to be heavy in this.
Yeah,
but it's probably going to be pretty contained, and then we'll be halfway through.
Yeah, which means it's going to be till episode 5 or 6 till we'll potentially even launch this giant hyperspace ring. And yeah, at this, the shot that we've seen in the previews of the back of Thrawn's head walking onto the bridge, I'm almost expecting that's the final shot of the season. Maybe that's your episodes. It's 8 episodes, so maybe that's your episode 7 bit, and we'll get some 8 things where we'll find out what's happened to Ezra to kind of link those things in. But yeah, my guess is we're not catching Thrawn at all till the end of this season, and we won't even leave this galaxy until, like I said, episodes 5 or 6 at this point. Because you're right. I think all of next episode is hiding in the woods. And, we've got to repair the ship. We got to find some way to sneak up onto the ring. Some kind of combination of those two things, perhaps. Which, again, is great. I guess.
Yeah, no.
It's the hard thing because, like I said, I enjoyed this episode, and I'm not really criticizing that aspect. It's just that I can feel how this season is going to shape out and how much they're going to tease things. And I guess that's the frustrating stuff, is that it feels like they're teasing things more than telling things.
Yep. It's not really a thing if it's not about anything. It's just like tune in next week or,
Eric says it's a good way to keep us coming back for more.
It's a good thing there's not a coin slot.
But again, if you don't subscribe to Disney Plus, wait till the series ends and binge the whole thing.
You can Apple Pay for 10 more minutes of show.
Oh, jeez, no.
Scan your card. Just scan your card right here.
You do not bring microtransactions into all of this. That's the next freaking doom, man.
It's gonna be, man. Like, what do you get? I got 5 more minutes of show. What'd you get? Extra credits.
Oh, oh man, just got a deleted scene.
Yeah, I got a behind the scenes. And then like there's like some of them will be concept art,
Right.
you know, interviews with the cast,
The
like
Disney
all that's
Plus, was it loot box is what it is. Will you get a few more minutes of shows, or will you be able to see Hera in the alternate costume? Or yeah, you get a behind the scenes bit. That's how we're gonna do it.
oh
That
man, dude, we just like predicted.
God, please let us be wrong. I hate microtransactions so
Oh
much.
my god, microtransaction streaming services, man. Did we just invent it?
Look, Bob, you did not see this. I'm gonna tell you that, Bob Iger. You didn't see any of this stuff. Forget that. If that
I
implies
I
in
I
we want
I, I think we
that
might have
implies in we
just.
want a percentage. That's it.
That's it. Oh my gosh, guys.
Fuck. I think
Everyone
we
out there. Everyone out there. This could be like a nothing burger, or it could have been what we just predicted could be like the absolute like he thought that the bar couldn't be lowered.
you know, in certain sections of humanity 5 years from now, our names will be cursed in dark rooms. Those two idiots weren't chatting about the anger, how annoying the show is. They never would have come up with this idea. Oh, geez. Yeah, even Bill Casey in the chat's like, oh no. Yeah, Bill, sorry. Sorry about that. You can blame us if it all happens.
Put yourself in the show for if you for like if for the like top tier loot box, whatever that costs, like $200, you can put your avatar next to Ahsoka in a scene.
That's right. It's the VR section of watching the show, and it's like you're standing there glowering at the senators yourself. Occasionally they'll look over in your direction to make you feel like you're part of the show.
Yeah. She'll like cross her arms and go, just kind of nod and look away.
Yeah, the little aside. That's ridiculous, isn't it, huh? Okay. Hera, talk to me. Yeah, I feel like I'm part of it. I would eat that up, by the way. We're making fun of it, but I would probably eat that up all day. Well, would love to talk about how this works out, but they stopped the episode, so we are going to have to wait until next week. And who knows what rants we will come up with by then. Eric, Bill, so glad you could join us live. Thank you to everybody that is joining us in the archives. Please be sure to put your comments below. And look, if you don't have Disney Plus, like I said, don't subscribe. Wait until the show is done. Maybe even a couple of shows and then subscribe for a month, binge it, and turn it back off. But let me know what you think. If you binge this show, how it all feels. Because I am curious if it feels better just going episode back to back, if it has more of a satisfying arc that you don't have to wait, a week between scenes. So that would be awesome if you could do that. Be sure to hit the like, the subscribe, the notifications. We're here every Thursday at 6 o'clock talking about this show and lots of other stuff. Ranting against the AMPTP and how they really need to sign a legitimate contract with both the WGA and SAG-AFTRA to both respect the work that they do and minimize AI's contribution. The one nice little move that we did discover, though, Copyright Office says you can't copyright any AI art. So that's going to steer business away from it because, if anything, they want to be able to copyright all of their stuff. So maybe that's a nice little plus move in directions. But Rob, any final thoughts before we wrap out of here and then let people know what you're doing, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not anything else to say. We went down some holes that I didn't think we'd go down. But that's what's great about our conversations here is we get to talk about a lot of just fun stuff. And for people that watched the first 30 minutes of this, hey, it, what do you want? What do you want, man? We're telling the truth here. We're spending time telling the truth about this. So I think we still did it entertaining wise. Now, as far as what I'm doing, it's the Road to Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation 5. Comes out early September. So I'm playing some turn-based stuff to get me in the headspace of playing this kind of game. Got my D&D manuals out, like real dork. Playing Pillars of Eternity 2, which is turn-based. I got Final Fantasy 16. We're gonna do a stream for the 2-hour game trial for something called Atomic Heart, which is a very Bioshocky kind of game I've been hearing about. I've been wanting to play it for a while. And then there's a new RPG they gave away called Sea of Stars that we might try a little bit more of. But that's what we're doing on Smirking Rob Plays. Otherwise, I'm just working, man.
Fair enough. Well, like I said, we will be back here next Thursday at 6 o'clock to cover episode 4. Again, we're guessing 35 to 40-minute length of that episode. Hopefully we're wrong. We like to be pleasantly surprised. And I believe Alyssa Jean from Alyssa Jean's Reviews will be joining us next week as well. So be sure to check back for that. In the meantime, thank you for spending some time with us, and we will catch you all next week. Have a good one.